G'day everybody, Duckville here. Welcome to a replay that's going to be from the Australian Cyber League competition that just took place down here in Melbourne, Australia. This is going to be between a Terran and a Protoss. Very cool game, I am told. It's actually one of the ones that I really liked in the big replay pack that was just released right today. In fact, a couple of hours before I've started this cast. As I said, it is from the ACL Melbourne event, which was just on the weekend. It was, from what I saw, a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I was not able to get down there, but from everything, the photos and all that sort of thing I saw, you can see some more on the ACL website. It looked like a whole bunch of fun. So it was also host to the Australian WCS qualifier for the Blizzard Cup thingy championship, whatever it's called, in a couple of months. So there was a lot of StarCraft action going on. There was also FIFA, Halo, Call of Duty, all that sort of stuff. It was a pretty big event. So props to everyone who was setting up the whole event, and of course everybody who turned up and all of the players that were there. So it looked like it was pretty cool. Anyway, let's have a look at this game, because this one was actually recommended to me by one of the players. We've actually got our Terran player starting here in the red. It is RuineD. I don't know if he's on a team. I didn't actually get to check that far before I had a look at the replay. I have not actually seen this whole replay yet. But yeah, as I said, it is apparently a very good game, and starting out here in the top position on Metropolis. One of my favorite maps, a very macro-orientated map in the general sense of the word. And Ruin's going to come across his opponent, who's over here in the blue. It is our Protoss player here from Team mGG. It is Alpha, and we'll see what he's going to get up to here on this one, because as I said, pretty macro-based map, and Ruin's going to go straight for that right now, getting a, that is actually a command center first from him. So knowing that this is a pretty big map, of course, you've got a long way to go to try and find your opponent. He's just going to say, you know what, buddy, we're going to go into a macro game and we'll see how you play out this one. So what I'll be interested to see, of course, with this one is how fast the players decide to take their third base. When a Protoss sees a Terran take that pretty quick command center there straight off the bat, you'll either want to do some very quick pressure. You can put a little bit of sort of, you know, harassment on with a Stalker and a couple of Zealots, or the other way around, a couple of Stalkers and a Zealot or two. And Ruin may have to prepare for that sort of thing, or is he going to? No, he's actually going to double barracks, which is one of the ways which a lot of players have been sort of following up this very fast command center, is to get those double racks up. Some players will even get 3, and some even 4. It's very dependent on how safe you want to be and how much pressure you want to exert right at the start, and of course how much you want to get in your opponent's face with your macro skills. So looks like we got a double probe attack. May even catch out. The SCV does grab it. Unfortunately, Ruin tried to get his SCVs back inside, but was not quick enough. As we can see, the probes here with the Zealot, there was actually a total of, yeah, there were 3 probes. There's a second Zealot on the way, but this is the type of early pressure which is really recommended if you do see your opponent go command center first. You can send some probes across, try and kill off the SCV that's building the command center. If you get a Zealot up, the general timing of a very quick Zealot there, if you chrono it out, will actually get inside the, will get to the base before your opponent has even completed both of the racks, or at least one of the racks. But a Marine will definitely not be out by the time you get there, so there is a chance you may actually get quite a lot of damage done. And as we can see, there were, I believe that was 2 SCV kills here for Alpha. He's also got a Stalker now competing in this little frenzy here. We'll see how the Zealots go. There is a wall, and they're obviously not going to get too far through, but what can happen is that the Zealots will be able to tank for the Stalker, and the Stalker can put some pressure on those Marines. The Marines, however, trying to target down the Stalker. Very good microing there from RuineD. He's got a good amount of damage on that Stalker, taking all the shields down. The supply depot taking a little bit of damage itself, and both the Zealots now running very low on their HP are going to have to retreat for the time being. So Alpha doing his best to put some pressure on, and he's going to get a quick expansion of his own up. The Nexus is already halfway done. His warp gate tech is still on the way. Still no second gas, but he is trying to keep up with the probe count at the moment, sitting on 24, so he's doing quite a nice job, and he's actually, wow, going to take that third base very quickly here. So whether he is just sort of read what RuineD is trying to do here, or if he's just going to do that as a standard reaction to that very quick command center, he's going to have a nice economy behind all of this. And as we can see, the Stalker, the lone survivor of the Marines now pushing out, was able to get a few kills here on these Marines, sizing them down just a little bit. And oh wow, we've got double factories inside the main for Ruin, so he's committed a lot of gas to those factories. He's obviously not going to be able to get too much production out of a starport or tech lab racks out for the time being, but as we can see, with double factories and now a tech lab going down on here, I think he is going to go for a mech-based play, trying to get a bunker up down at the natural expansive alpha, but on the ball there, he was able to clear that out without too much of a hassle. So I think this is going to be a mech-based play here. We got double racks with the reactors here. Now, of course, generally the issue you'll have with playing mech in TVP is that it can be really troublesome to position your units around the map. Of course, a lot of players will have trouble doing harassment until you get that nice big ball of the metal units that come out of the factories. Of course, we're talking about tanks, Hellions, and Thors to some extent. You'll also see some players add in a couple of Void Rays, a couple of Vikings to make sure that they can fend off any things like Void Rays. It sort of depends on how far they go, because of course you don't really need medevacs, because medevacs cannot heal tanks, luckily for Zerg and Protoss players of StarCraft 2. So Alpha, his response, as we said, is to get this third base up pretty quickly. I don't think he hasn't seen anything of what's going on just yet, but he was able to just get a good read there and is able to get his tech up pretty quickly as well. Behind all of this, he's now got a total of 4 gateways going up. The blink is almost done as well, so he's really getting that completed as fast as possible. Blink, one of the best ways to take advantage of a player who is going to do any mech, but as I said, he's still not totally sure of what's going on, but it looks as if he is going to put some pressure on. We've got a couple of stalkers out on the map, a proxy pylon also going down. Work account between these two players sitting at 48 for Alpha at the moment, 39 for RuineD. One lonely Marine just heading down into the map trying to get some kills here, but does find that his opponent has that very quick third, so RuineD is going to put some pressure on. It looks like he's got a lot of Marines out. We got a total of 13 Marines along with these 3 tanks. A few SCVs going to come along for that party as well, and it looks like we're going to have continual production of units for the time being while RuineD heads out on the map. Now, he does have a couple of stalkers to deal with at the Xel'Naga Watchtower, 1 Marine going down. The thing with the tanks being in this mix is that the stalkers cannot stick around. You can't do too much of that that sort of pressure where your opponent is sort of losing Marines one at a time. I think RuineD is in the shadows here, and despite having the Xel'Naga Watchtower, he is actually going to slip past here, and this might catch Alpha out of position. In fact, yes, it certainly will, because his stalkers are way over here at the moment. The third base extremely exposed. Siege mode is done, so RuineD can switch up those tanks and start just laying waste to everything here. Not a fan of the fact that he didn't keep the high ground here. I think he should keep at least 1 tank up here, but he is going to put a bunker down. He's actually going to move the tanks through as well. The Marines are going to have an easy time taking care of this base. 2 bunkers going up at the front of where the tanks were, which is really nice. It gives a little bit of a wall just in case Alpha was going to try and just barge his way through with some zealots. But now this third base is, I don't think this is going to survive too long, but an Immortal is out, which is certainly going to help with this defensive attack here from Alpha, and the bunkers go down, or one of them goes down, gets cancelled in fact, and the second one is just about to complete. Is he going to be able to salvage this base? I'm not sure. The Nexus goes down. There it is. The probes may be in trouble as well, but the bunker completes. 1 Immortal is actually firing on a Marine. Not the greatest use of that fella there. He goes down. The bunker is still up. Probes are being lost here. I think that is a very big loss for Alpha, losing that third, not to mention especially the probes that were there. Now trying to micro back his blink stalkers to keep them alive as long as possible. So that's a bit of a setback here for Alpha. I think he was trying to take advantage, as we said, of the very immobile mech style that RuineD is going for, and by taking a third you can try and compete in getting out those bigger units that a Protoss needs to go for when your opponent goes for mech. Now, of course, not many people will actually see mech in TVP these days. We did a little bit of it, had a quick look at it on Late Night Imber Discussions a couple of shows ago. You can find that on the channel here. But there are a few ways you can do it. Of course, you can go for some Thors to get some really good defense up at the start, but of course they are very slow, and they can be in a lot of trouble if your Protoss opponent goes for Zealots, which can just chew through the Thors depending on what other cover you've got for the rest of your army. So RuineD is deciding to stick with the tanks and the Hellions for the time being. Of course, with Blue Flame now researched, that means that the Hellions will just be able to blast their way through any Zealots to try and come to the front lines and charge their way into the tanks. He's also got a couple of Ghosts out now as well. These guys do have their Mobius Reactor, so they will have an EMP available when need is there. So he's going to be sitting in a very nice position here, and I do like that he's getting a couple of turrets up to make sure that his airspace is defended, because, as we said, being very immobile, these tanks here are not going to be able to get back into the main to try and defend this position very quickly. He's going to be relying on Hellions to do that sort of mobile defense, and of course they will get chewed up by Stalkers and like a combination of Stalkers and Zealots. So it's a very good thing to do, is to try and make sure you're protecting that airspace from Warp Prisms and that sort of thing, and also not run up into the big line of the tanks and the Hellions. Of course, none of these units have upgrades just as of yet, but the two armories are on the way. Double armory, perfect way to do it. A little bit of flash style there going in from RuineD. He's sitting at 129 supply. Needs a couple of supply depots to make sure he's not blocked too much, but he's sitting in a good spot. Now with that third base, he can turtle up, get another couple of factories up if he wants to. In fact, he's going to put 2 down right now and continue the production of that metal army, which is going to just be very, very potent once it gets to a stage with good upgrades. Now, what is Alpha going to do here? Of course, one of the good ways to stop a tank is with some Void Rays. As we can see here, he's going to have those out. I like the fact that he is going for a bit of air, because at the moment, from what he has seen, there isn't really too much air defense from RuineD. So RuineD's just got the Hellions and the tanks down at the moment, relying on a few tanks and, of course, relying on a few turrets, I should say, and the Ghosts to help out with a bit of air defense. But it's really going to depend on how much air pressure Alpha is going to have. Now, he's got double Stargates here cranking out. In fact, Carriers, a good way to help counter mech. Generally, the best way, like, it gets very troublesome to deal with mech once you get to a late stage where a Terran is sieged up. They've got a lot of turrets around to protect the airspace. They've got Hellions and tanks around to just annihilate everything on the ground. And one of the best ways to deal with it is to go for Immortals and Carriers. I know Carriers is a very weird thing to hear in StarCraft 2, but it is very nice because, of course, none of these units, apart from the Ghosts, can hit the Carriers up in the sky. So, of course, one of the best ways you can deal with them is to get those Carriers out, doing a lot of DPS. They do have the best DPS in StarCraft 2, so they'll always be able to help out in a fight. And with things like Graviton Catapult, you can target down some of the units really nicely, and then you can try and downsize this army. But here we go, RuineD now pushing down the right-hand flank of the map. He's going to find this attempted 4th base of Alpha. He's going to be able to easily lay waste to this. The Hellions with their they're about to get 1-1. Of course, the tanks doing extra damage to armored units, 50 damage when they are in that siege mode. A 5th base across to the side will be okay for the moment, but we'll have to see if RuineD is going to catch that and find that position. Observer not seeing too much. He's not really observing what's going on the map, but with the extra factories now in effect, RuineD is going to be able to replenish quite a lot of what he has. Even if he loses some of these tanks, he'll have good production to get some of those back. And now, as we can see, looks as if a battle is getting very close here. RuineD just sieging and unsieging here, just making sure that all of these positions have been cleared out properly, and he does get rid of that the 4th base, I should say. And now things are going to start heating up. The Carriers have come out. They've got their Graviton Catapult. They also have +1 to weapons. +2 to weapons is also on the way. So Alpha is just trying to find that good mix. And as we can see, he's got a couple of Archons which can help out as well. And we'll see if he's going to be able to push back, because he really needs to secure these extra bases to make sure that he has the production capability to keep up with this very... one thing about mech, actually, I should mention, is that it's extremely cost effective. You can use those, as we said, Hellions in a big bunch like this will do a lot of splash damage, clean up Zealots with no trouble at all, and of course, the tanks will just annihilate Blink Stalkers and the like when they're on the ground. Even Immortals actually become a little bit of a liability at this point here, so I think that's why Alpha is going for that very heavy carrier count at the moment. We've got, I think we've got about 2 out at the moment. He's going to have a few more in a second. Extra starports going down. I do like that. What I would like to see one thing which is sort of a bit of a micro-intensive tactic to use against mech is immortals in warp prisms. You can keep them safe from the EMP, and then you can also drop them on top of the tanks, target the tanks down, and do your best to try and get rid of the tanks as fast as possible, because once they're gone, in fact, wow, downsizing his army a little bit himself here, getting rid of some of these Hellions. You know why? Because he's building battle cruisers. So RuineD is now switching into that that very deadly phase of the mech, where you want to go from the tanks and the Hellions, or the Thors and Hellions, or some sort of mix of the like, and switch into the battle cruisers, which just start annihilating everything. Of course, as I'm sure some Protoss will know, if battle cruisers start coming out, you can get in quite a lot of trouble depending on what you've got yourself. So he is going to get those out there. Yamato Cannon is also just about done. He's also going to have the Behemoth Reactor as well, which will help give the battle cruisers some energy right at the start. So things are starting to look a little bit scary here for Alpha. He's sitting at 189 supply. He's got a good count of carriers now out on the map. We got 3 more about to join the army that's already out here. Of how many we got? We got 4, so we're going to have a total of 7. I think he needs to start getting rid of some of these units here. These Stalkers either need to get out on the map, do a bit more pressure. We can, of course, use them to perhaps blink inside the main, get some damage done in here on the production facilities if possible, or perhaps deny these bases across to the right hand side of the map. But those guys are a little bit of a liability at this stage, because as we said, tanks will just utterly annihilate these. In fact, with the 2-2, I think that that RuineD is up to, yes he is, they'll do 31 there in their unsieged mode, and then when they actually are in siege, I think they do 55 or 58 or something like that. Not exactly sure, but here we go. He is trying to do some pressure along the top side here. He's actually going to find out that there is a turret ring protecting the base. Not going to get too far through here, and he will see, however, that there is a fusion core. So he's going to need to get quite a lot of carriers out very soon, and I think getting rid of some of this army will help free up some of that supply, but it looks like he is going to try and push across. He may be able to blink the Stalkers up to get across to this base here, but I don't think he's going to go for that. A command center also going up. In fact, a couple of command centers here do like that little bit of a switch there for RuineD. He's going to be able to switch those into planetary fortresses, blinking in the Stalkers right on top of the tanks, but there are so many tanks. Blink just absolutely destroyed all of that, and now Alpha is in a little bit of trouble here. He's down to 138 supply. There are now Thors out as well. Ghost also on the ground, cloaked up. Alpha cannot see these. He does not have any observers, and while the carriers are doing a lot of damage, just sweeping through the Thors here, as we can see, and the battle cruisers were also annihilated, he's still losing quite a lot of this army, and the carriers are getting quite low as well, and without any detection against those ghosts, they are free to just roam around and do all sorts of damage to the carriers here. As we can see, they've almost killed 2 of them. I was a bit surprised he didn't commit and just sort of push across, but behind this, Alpha has gotten the 4th and 5th bases up here. He really needs to get this carrier production going. He does, how many, we just got the 4 Stargates at the moment. He's going to be able to get some more Archons, perhaps, maybe looking for that Archon carrier mix. Would like to see perhaps a few Templar just in the mix to make sure he can feed back some of those battle cruisers. That's one very ugly thing to deal with, is the Yamato Cannon. Of course, a couple of EMPs on the carriers, a Yamato Cannon, and you've got yourself a carrier soup floating on the ground, because it just gets very ugly here. So RuineD just setting himself up for that long game. He's got these extra orbital commands here to drop down mules. As we can see, it is a mule party over here. These guys are just getting drinks from the minerals and just doing whatever they like, because they have quite a lot of free reign over the map at the moment. There's no real pressure coming in from Alpha, so we'll see what he's going to do. He's just getting the mothership out. More immortals are coming through as well. I do like that little addition there. He's going to have that available, but as we said, with things getting a little bit dicey here, the 2-2 on the mech, there is going to be 3 and then +1 to armor on the battle cruisers. They've already got their +1 to the weapons, and once a sizable amount of these battle cruisers pop out, RuineD is just going to be in a position where he can just sit back, he can say, come at me, bro, and he's in fact going to sacrifice all of these SCVs. If you're sort of sitting there at home wondering why is he sending these SCVs into battle, what he can do with these is just get rid of the supply. As we can see, he's currently at 200 supply. Getting rid of these SCVs means that he'll be able to make more battle cruisers, and you're sort of thinking, what is he going to do about his production? Well, all he needs to do is just drop down some mules now, so it's not too much of a trouble for him. In fact, oh, one of these Zealots got a little bit low there from the SCVs, but not too much of an issue here. But now we do have that big carrier force out. I do like how he's really just beefing that up. Once the mothership comes out, things will get a little bit more interesting, and the upgrades are still going nicely here for Alpha as well. He's up to, I think he's on to +3 on the weapons of the carriers. He's got 103 on the ground units as well, and he's trying to do his best to come back here, but I just can't help thinking that the battle cruisers plus the ghosts and a few tanks and Thors on the ground are just going to absolutely destroy this army. But we'll have to see. Perhaps a clutch vortex from the mothership that comes out might seal the deal, just like a certain GSL Code S Grand Final quite a while ago. That may be the course of action that Alpha is looking for here, trying to do his own version of Squirtle. But with more battlecruisers about to pop out, we can see that RuineD has a much better mix of units than MVP had during those GSL finals, especially with the ghosts on the ground. So he's looking to come along here. He's even, in fact, looking to get this this island base here. We'll need to clean out this creep, of course, which comes along and is quite annoying if you're trying to take the base. But as we can see, RuineD now has, let's just count up how many orbital commands he has. He's got, well, he'll have very soon. Yeah, he's got almost, so that's 7 orbital commands, possible total of 10 in fact, but I think we're going to have a battle very soon here in the middle of the map. The mothership is prepared, and she does have energy, but now with an EMP, she is no more. The EMP is going down on the carriers as well, not to mention the rest of the units on the ground, and Alpha is in quite a lot of trouble here. Yamato cannon going off. We can see the tanks sieged up at the back, or are they? No, the Thors are just laying waste to everything here. The battlecruisers just shooting off as much as they can. Thors and the rest of the army here are going to clean up the carriers. The battlecruisers have almost been completely annihilated here. The carriers, of course, with their huge DPS, but unfortunately, again, there is no observer here for Alpha to spot the ghosts on the ground, and that is going to be it. The carriers are now gone. That is quite a long-term effort army that has been destroyed here by RuineD, and RuineD is just able to remax here quite quickly. He's going to have, he's got tanks, we've got Thors, and of course more battlecruisers on the way. There was no extra pressure, unfortunately, for Alpha, so he's just got some Templar over here. They do not have Storm at the moment, trying to remax on some Void Rays as swiftly as he can. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to do it in time, not to mention the fact that the Ghosts will be out. Some good spread, perhaps, you know, perhaps some really nice, some Void Rays spread if he can max out on the Voids pretty quickly. That might help. Of course, the main component of the Thors is that they do splash damage with their 18 damage plus times 4 to the air. So they do the splash damage along with the EMP from the Ghost will mean that any voids that are grouped up will be just totally destroyed. But it's if Alpha can perhaps get some voids out. This is a very terrible sort of spot for him at the moment, contending with a big mech army that's already on 3-3 on the ground and then 2-2, oh sorry, just 2 in the air. This is going to put Alpha in a very tough spot, not to mention the mining going on here from RuineD. Look at this, he's got mules just absolutely everywhere here. Hardly any SCVs. Looking at the SCV count, 41. Doesn't need too many. Could perhaps even just drop off some of those SCVs. He doesn't need too many more. But Alpha trying to switch across to this right-hand side base, getting this one up. He does have a few cannons here to defend, but of course they mean absolutely nothing against the mech army. Taking a Yamato or 2, or perhaps a few Thor hammers will just knock them down quick smart. And RuineD is now moving across to take his own left-hand side of the map, which interestingly is very close to Alpha's main base. And as we can see, RuineD being very clever here, getting up a couple of turrets to make sure he's got some air protection here against the carriers, which he can just sit over the ridge and fire down on this base. But there are actually no carriers left, of course, and now we've just got Voids, Templar, Archon, and Stalkers. So here he comes, trying to push across here. This is going to be a very dependent battle on what the Templar and the Ghost do, of course, with some good feedbacks that'll help out and getting rid of these battle cruisers. But there are so many energy dependent units here that Alpha is not able to get enough done. With the Ghost cloaked up and still no observers around, the Ghost are just going to be able to tear apart everything here. And as we can see, he's forced back straight away. There are still 7 battle cruisers here in this mix, 8 Thors with their 3-3 damage. The Ghosts on the ground, of course, have 0-0. Of course, you don't really want commit to upgrading those guys too much. But Alpha still in this very ugly position here. A little bit unsure about where he's going to go, I think. The Templar now at the back, not going to be able to... Is he going to be able to get some feedbacks off? I don't think it's going to matter. Those Void Raisers are too clumped up. They're taking so much damage, as we can see, getting annihilated there by the Thors. There they go. The Javelin being thrown up in the air, taking down the Voids, and that is going to be it. A couple of mules there. I'm not sure if those are BM mules or not, but they do drop down, and he can auto-repair with those, which makes that army even stronger now. And Alpha trying to put a pylon down, not going to get anything done with that, and I think he's perhaps resigned himself for this game here. It's 170 supply to 135. Alpha still trying to rebuild some of these units here. He's got a carrier on the way, but his gas is very starved at the moment. He's put a lot into those Templar. We've got a few more units down here at the bottom side. He's run out of gas in the natural and the main. The third base is almost depleted as well in both the minerals and the gas. The fourth is still looking good. The fifth also doing quite nicely as well. Got a lot of chrono boost saved up here as well. I think he perhaps could chuck some of that into these carriers as well to get them out as quickly as possible. But this army is on the march, and here he comes. He's going to be able to just Yamato cannon most of these units here when he can see it, and there he goes, firing off the cannon, blasting into... Actually, he didn't actually use it much just there, but here it goes, firing into the mothership, and there she goes. No more cloak for the rest of this army, and that is going to be the end of Alpha, I believe. Taking him down with this very potent mech build here. Some Templar coming in for a final stand, but they're not going to be able to do much against all of these battle cruisers and the rest of the units on the ground, and GG from Alpha. So Alpha succumbing to that very mighty mech beast through that mid and late stage of the game. Of course, a little bit of pressure right at the start, taking out a third base when I think Alpha was just a little bit caught out because that the Marine tank army sort of moved through the shadows here, past the Zelnaga watchtowers, and was able to sneak into that third base and take it down. I think if that had stayed up a little longer, that might have been a bit different, but then RuineD was able to just capitalize on his small victories through the early stage of the game, and then build up that mech army and go to town on the rest of what Alpha had. So, great game there from RuineD, of course. Valiant effort from Alpha to try and take care of a mech army, which is, despite not being used very often, it can be quite dangerous in the hands of a skilled user. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that game. Play a bit of mech yourself. Let me know how you go. And yeah, make sure you also check out the ACLPro website to see some more action from the events they're hosting. Also coming up very soon is the StarCraft 2 World Championships Nationals for Australia, which should be a whole bunch of fun. And I'll catch you all next time. Cheers.